Can I
So
just check,
yes,
can I
Professor.
just check if I try and share my screen, see
Yes,
whether
please
it
do.
works? Um, can you see that now?
Yeah.
There we go. Yes, we can.
Okay.
Beautiful. Can
And
you try?
just
Can you try advancing your slides and see if that's working for you?
yeah, is that working?
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah,
Okay,
you
so
see
I'll
my
stop
headshots
share
now.
now.
Beautiful. Anwar and Dr. Corona, do you want to try doing some screen
Yeah.
sharing?
I wanted to try mine too.
Try yours too.
Mine is just a couple of slides. Yeah. It's coming, right?
That looks
Yes.
good.
Yeah. Okay.
You put that on play. Yeah, perfect. Lovely.
Okay.
Let me try mine.
Oh, nice.
Can you see?
Beautiful.
Perfect.
Fantastic.
Excellent.
Professor Marsh, are you under time pressure? Do you have to run away quickly, or?
I probably should go, yes, after I've finished and answered any questions.
Okay, lovely. Well, we really appreciate your time. We'll put you on first and
Okay.
chat about dugongs first, and then once we've heard what you have to say and asked a few questions, then I'll let you run away. But we really appreciate it. If you can give us 10, 15 minutes, that'd be fantastic.
Okay, that sounds good.
Brilliant. Okay. All right. El France, are you ready to go pretty soon?
All right.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry, before that, just to run through it again, we're actually going to show a little film first. So
Okay.
it's about 5 minutes or something like that. It just
Yeah.
shows it's a coral reef film showing some of the situation with coral reefs around the world. It's a short little film to introduce the session, and then we'll get into it after that. So if you wouldn't mind just enjoying that first, you can mute yourself whilst that's going on, and then we'll cut to me, and I'll do my little introductions, and then Helen, you can get cracking on your stuff. That all sound good? Lovely. All right, wonderful. El France, take it away, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Kelvin. Are you ready,
Yeah, wait. Give me a second.
Kelvin?
I go.
Let me know when you're ready, and then I can do a cue. And then when I say like start, hit record on Facebook.
Okay.
And then it will be live on Facebook.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, guys, ready? Okay, here my cue. Stand by. 3, 2, 1. Cue.
It's muted, no?
There is no sound.
Yeah. Anyway, there's a subtitle.
This is where life concentrates,
Okay.
feeds, and survives. Nowhere is this more important than in the coral triangle. Stretching across Southeast Asia, this region holds the highest marine biodiversity on Earth. Remove reefs from this system, and entire ecosystems collapse. Coral reefs are not just ecosystems. They are natural infrastructure. They absorb up to 90% of wave energy. Without them, coastlines are fully exposed. Across Asia, coral reefs are tied directly to survival. They support fisheries that feed millions. They sustain tourism industries worth billions. When reefs decline, food security weakens. This is not just about ecosystems. It is about people. Families who have depended on these waters for generations. Communities built around the ocean. Coral reefs are under threat. Rising temperatures, overfishing, and pollution are pushing them to the edge. But reefs are resilient. When protected, they can recover. What happens next depends on what we do now. Because losing reefs is not a future we can afford.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to ADEX PIXEL Virtual Expo 2026, our special event encompassing two very important days on the calendar. Yesterday, June 8th, UN World Oceans Day, and today, June 9th, Coral Triangle Day. My name is Ian Bongsa-Sodrop. I'm the editor of Asian Geographic magazine and also the managing editor of online underwater imaging resource divePhotoGuide.com. Thank you for joining us. Now, if you're watching this webinar, you'll know why we've dedicated a day to the Coral Triangle. This area is globally recognized as the epicenter of marine biodiversity. It's home to a third of the planet's coral reefs, 3/4 of all known coral species. That's about 600 different types of coral, and also about 40% of all known fish, reef fish species. It's also where you'll find the greatest extent of mangrove forests in the world. About 20% of the global mangrove coverage is here. It's also where you'll find about 75% of all known mangrove species. Now, my three special guests today understand better than anyone what makes the Coral Triangle such a vitally important Asian region. I'm joined by Professor Helene Marsh, Emeritus Professor of Environmental Science at James Cook University in Australia, Dr. Anuar Abdullah, founder of the Organic Reef Rehabilitation Center, and Dr. Guillermo Corona, president of the Reef Agriculture Conservancy. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. Now, every year, Asian Geographic Magazine's signature dive show in Singapore, ADEX Big Blue Legacy, is dedicated to a marine animal, and we've spotlighted sharks, seahorses, turtles, cephalopods, and more. And next year, in 2027, we're highlighting some very special marine mammals, dugongs. Now, these gentle giants are listed as vulnerable on the red list of threatened species, and that's in large part because their favorite habitats, seagrass meadows, are under threat. Now, here to tell us more about dugongs is Professor Marsh. She's an internationally recognized authority on these animals. The focus of her research on their population ecology, reproduction, diet, and movements. So, Professor Marsh, please tell us about these beautiful creatures and why they're linked to the health of the Coral Triangle.
Okay, thanks very much, Ian. What I'm going to do is share my slides, and I'm really going to concentrate on some learnings from the 2025 Global Assessment of Dugong Conservation Status and Trends, which was done at a global scale. But I want to tell you a bit about what we learned about the Coral Triangle.
Right.
So let's see that I can share them. Okay, I hope you can all see that. Ian, is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So this was a big job that I did with all these people from across the Dugongs range, including quite a few from the Coral Triangle, and it was launched last year at the IUCN meeting in Abu Dhabi, and it's online, and I just want to give you a few highlights that I think are relevant to the Coral Triangle. So the report itself is huge. It's 350 pages long, and it's in it has an introductory chapter providing the context, and then there are 9 regional chapters and a final chapter called Key Learnings. And there are 2 chapters that are particularly relevant to the Coral Triangle, one called Maritime Southeast Asia and the other one on the Pacific Islands. And both those chapters cover a bit more area than the Coral Triangle, but the Coral Triangle would be a really big part of each of those chapters.
Yeah.
So you can see here's the Coral Triangle and here's the Dugong's Range, and you can see what a big part of the Dugong's Range is in the Coral Triangle. Now, we don't even know how many countries dugongs occur in, but I can tell you that all the 7 range states in the Coral Triangle support dugongs, and there are some others that probably support dugongs, but we're not sure, and most of those are in the Middle East, and many of them are subject to war. That's one of the horrifying things I learned, and it's just got worse since then, that about a quarter of the countries that in the Dugong's Range are at war, and obviously that makes peaceful countries like those in the Coral Triangle even more important. And then there are some places where we don't think they support resident populations of dugongs. In some cases they never did, but China is one where they're on the edge of extinction. And then there are a few places in the world where they used to occur and they no longer occur. And one of the things I really want to point out, because this is so relevant for the Coral Triangle, is that actually isolated islands are the most dangerous places in terms of the risk of extinction for dugongs, because they can only support quite small seagrass communities, which is the dugong's staple. And there are a few places where people thought that dugongs used to occur, such as the Laccadives, the Maldives and Taiwan, where I think it's unlikely that they ever did. Now, one of the things that's really relevant to think about in the case of the dugong, so my take-home message for the dugong is its status is very variable in different parts of the range, and there are some very big areas where we don't know enough, and the Coral Triangle would be right up there in terms of not knowing enough. So the reason for, so what this figure is it's a three-dimensional human population map, and you can see that the height of the towers are the density of the population. So look, here is Java, for example. Now you can see that there are parts of the Coral Triangle where there are a lot of people, quite a high density, nothing like the situation in India or China or parts of East Africa. And you can see that most of the countries in the Coral Triangle have been rated as having a high or medium human development index. Now, I want to make this point because the situation in the Coral Triangle is actually pretty different from a lot of the rest of the range. Australia, for example, is a rich country with hardly anyone living in the range of the dugong in the north, and because it has a very wide continental shelf, there are vast areas of seagrass.
Right.
Now, most of the Coral Triangle countries, the situation is quite different because they're islands, huge, thousands and thousands of islands, and the continent and the island shelves are quite narrow. So there's a few things to think about there. One is, as has been pointed out, there are all these people that are incredibly dependent on coral reefs and also seagrasses, you mentioned that, for their livelihoods. But because of the geography, the seagrass beds are going to be much smaller and more fragmented than in a place like Australia with a vast continental shelf. The global status of the dugong for IUCN is vulnerable. However, that masks the situation in many places. So in the last few years, 3 areas in the Dugong's range have been declared as endangered or critically endangered, and this is a potential under IUCN to list subpopulations. And I believe that actually we should be listing a lot more different areas in the Dugong's range, which merited as critically endangered or endangered. The trouble is that actually in order to do this, the areas do have to be rather isolated, and actually in many places in the Coral Triangle that's not the case. So one of the things that we learned from the global assessment was that there were at least another 11 subpopulations that could merit IUCN listing, probably as endangered or critically endangered. But at this point in time, none of those are in the Coral Triangle. And there are 2 reasons for that. One, we just simply don't know enough about the dugong populations in the Coral Triangle. And the second one is that I'm not sure that any of those populations are going to be isolated enough to qualify for the IUCN listing. Outside Australia, there are very few locations with confirmed populations of more than 100 dugongs, and none of those is in the Coral Triangle yet. So I believe, I mean, there is one in Peninsular Malaysia, but I actually suspect there are quite a few places in the Coral Triangle where this is true, but generally we simply don't know. And similarly, this is a map. You can see Papua New Guinea, you can see eastern Indonesia, the island of Borneo, the Solomons. And these are places where expert opinion has said there are important marine mammal areas with dugongs as the qualifying species. And you can see the birds head a few areas on the east coast of Borneo, North Sulawesi, but there'll be a lot more places, but we simply don't know enough. Now, when we think about genetic diversity of dugongs, we know that it's very high in Australia. Australia is the dugong capital of the world, but it's a geographic accident. We simply don't know about the situation in the Coral Triangle, and but we do know that in the Western Indian Ocean, it's very low, and it's very low on the extremes of the range, such as the Nancy Islands in Japan or New Caledonia. And so what's the situation in the Coral Triangle? My guess is it's in between, but we don't know. And this is a really important thing to find out. And now there's modern genomic techniques which make this a lot easier. The other thing...
Professor Marsh, sorry, what's the significance of genetic diversity in terms of the health of the population?
Well, that's a very interesting question, Ian, because, I guess the geneticists would have us believe that when you have a diverse population, it's much more likely to be able to withstand change or adverse impacts such as disease. And but there are places in the Dugong's range, the Arabian Gulf would be one, where the diversity is very low, but the population seems okay. But
right.
is it going to be much more vulnerable?
Sure.
But dugongs are what are called seagrass community specialists. So they need seagrass communities to live. And unfortunately, for most parts of the Dugong's range, there has been very little mapping of seagrass. Now, we know that dugongs can mainly feed in waters less than 20 metres deep. So what we looked at was the extent of waters less than 20 metres deep in all these regions in the world and how much seagrass had been mapped. Now, 75%, not all of these areas will be covered with seagrass, of course, but it is an index of the potential habitat. And 75% of the mapped seagrass in the Dugong's range has been mapped in Australia. And if we look at the Coral Triangle areas, Maritime Southeast Asia, this potentially has the greatest area of seagrass in the Dugong's range, but hardly any of it's been mapped. And similarly with the Pacific Islands. And so mapping dugong habitat has been recommended for the roadmap called the 2030 Seagrass Breakthrough, and this was announced at the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, the COP 2023, as a big ambition. And I would reckon that the Coral Triangle is an absolutely key area to be doing this. You know a lot about the coral reefs, and that's very important, but you need to know more about seagrass beds because human communities in the area that are dependent on fish are also dependent on seagrass. The other thing that we've learned is that small-scale fisheries are now a major cause of dugong mortality and habitat loss. Now, this is very, very difficult problem because the most serious gear is gill nets, and they're a very important gear for artisanal fishers, and dugongs because they have to dive to the bottom to feed and come up to the surface to air to breathe, shallow dive hundreds and hundreds of times a day, and they run into gill nets, and this is a hard problem in countries with artisanal fisheries, and in some areas the nets also damage the seagrass. So this is very tough because of the food security issues. And so I think there are quite a few challenges with regard to dugongs for the Coral Triangle countries. Firstly, in every one of them, if I took the countries individually, I'd have to say the status of the dugong was data deficient.
Yeah.
They're very hard to survey in these countries because you've got narrow continental shelf seagrass beds, and the populations are likely to be small and fragmented. The dugongs are likely, and this has been shown for some places in Indonesia, to move between localities depending on the status of the seagrass. They run out of seagrass, they have to move. And I'm going to say they need both local and regional approaches to conservation. Most of the NGO work, and there is some from the Mohammed bin Zayed Fund at the moment, is working at very local scales. But you actually need to know at a regional scale as well because of the animals move. So that's what I want to say. A big area for lots more work, because these communities, these seagrass communities, are really important. And in the Coral Triangle, we don't know much about them, and we don't know much about the dugongs either. Thank you.
Really fascinating, Professor Walsh. Marsh, you mentioned China earlier, where dugongs are probably functionally extinct at this point. I mean, China is obviously a lot of coastal development. Is that the prime reason, would you say, why the dugong has disappeared from that area compared to Coral Triangle countries?
I think so. There's coastal development. Seagrass has been lost in so many places, and of course fisheries impact. People thought they were gone last year one was caught in a fishing net off Taiwan, which was very surprising. Possibly the same animal because there were marks that was later seen. It was released by the fishermen, and it was later seen in the Nancy Shoto Islands in Japan, which was 550 kilometres away, which was amazing. And I think it was probably the same animal, but the animals in that extent of China, the more tropical and subtropical parts of China, and in Japan, has in the Nancy Islands, has just about gone.
So I have a question.
Sorry, before you continue, Anuar, Prof. Marsh, would you mind stop doing your screen sharing, then we can have a bit
Oh,
more
sorry.
space
Yes,
there to see
thank you
everyone. Thank
sorry
you.
about that.
Go ahead, Anuar.
I have a question. So my area of work is in the Coral Triangle, Malaysia, Philippines, Indonesia, all the way to Papua New Guinea. And in some of my locations, we have dugong. How do I contribute to you if we have observation?
Well, I think mapping seagrass would be a big thing, and that's very hard because particularly in areas where the water's not so clear and there's dugong and there's subtidal seagrass beds. But if there isn't seagrass, there won't be dugongs. And actually, although mapping seagrass is hard, it's a lot easier than actually getting good population estimates for dugongs in those sorts of fragmented small habitats that I think you've got in most places in the Coral Triangle. The other thing about mapping seagrass is that seagrasses are good for a lot of other things other than dugongs, and so if you understand much more about the distribution of the seagrass, it helps dugongs, but it helps lots of other things too.
Yes, we have launched just a few days ago research to map the population of seahorses, which lives in seagrass.
Yes.
And then in some of our research location, they are dugong, for sure. We see them almost every day.
Another thing that's a good thing to do, and it hasn't been done, it's been done a lot but not enough, if you like, is to survey fishers for what they know about dugongs. I mean, people have learned a huge amount from interviewing fishers, and that's not super expensive. And I feel that it's really important to know at a regional scale what's going on, and mapping the seagrass would be two things. And of course they're interactive because you can ask about the seagrass when you interview the fishers. I think is very, very helpful and not outrageously expensive. People are doing a lot of interesting things now using small drones, but the problem with, and that's very good, and there are people doing excellent things in various parts of the range, but that's giving you a pretty local scale picture using those small drones, whereas if you can combine that at a local scale and work with the fishers and the communities, but get a bigger picture at a regional scale by mapping seagrass and running interviews would be, I think, priorities. Doing more expensive regional scale aerial surveys, which are now largely switching to drones, as is done in Australia, would be very, very hard and expensive in the Coral Triangle. And I think you'd get a value for money using simpler techniques.
Okay.
Yes, I have one addition about this. Nowadays, we have a partnership with the Blue Carbon International that actually they launched the Sovereignty Blue Carbon Strategy for Bahamas, and they develop a technique to do the mapping in the whole Bahamas. So now we're exploring with them how we can bring those techniques here in the Coral Triangle, and we can do the same. I mean, the focus for that project is mainly the blue carbon thing, yeah. But I think, as you mentioned, we have the dugong, we have the seahorses, we have many other species. I think so we can use this technology not just to calculate the carbon or potential carbon capture for the seagrass, but also we can link this with the dugongs, right, and other species. So maybe later on we can follow up on that, because I think this kind of mapping is very cost effective. They already demonstrate that, and we can bring this technology to the Coral Triangle, and maybe hopefully, in 1-2 years we can deploy a project here, right?
Dr. Corona, are you gonna talk to us about those technologies a little bit later when you talk?
Yeah, I can talk about it. Yeah, thank you.
Because I think it would be interesting to know what those techniques are exactly.
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, Professor Marsh, I think you have to leave us, but we really appreciate your time. It's fascinating to hear from a professional who has been in this, studying these animals for so long, and we're very excited to be able to spotlight these creatures at the dive show in April next year, and I hope that it will spur more action, and it can ultimately help to achieve some of the goals that you've outlined as well today.
Okay, thank you.
I
Good
appreciate it.
luck.
Thank you so much.
It's very important, I think, for the communities to understand these things, and I'm sure that maybe it's the seagrass triangle as well as the coral triangle.
Maybe. Okay, thank you, Professor Marsh.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Abdullah, let me just hand over to you since you'd asked that first question. You're no stranger to the issues happening in terms of coral reefs and seagrass beds. You've been working in rehabilitating coral reefs for a very long time now. Can you tell us a little bit about the challenges that are facing Coral Triangle countries in particular, but countries in general that have coral reefs as one of their major resources?
Okay, from my work in the coral reef now, it has evolved, because if you look at most of the practices of coral, they call it coral rehabilitation.
Yeah.
I will not discuss about techniques. I'm discussing about the approach. Yeah. Example, people get misconception, a lot of misinterpretation about coral reef and corals. And the coral reef is only a habitat in an ecosystem. Yeah, the corals are only building a habitat in an ecosystem. And then in that ecosystem, there are key drivers or key drivers to the ecosystem drivers. The marine plants is one of them. We just discussed that just now. Marine plant is part of the deal. You can't exclude them. The coral reef provides structure. It provides structure, it provides a foundation where life can revolve around it, right? But without the other key drivers, for example, sponges, which is the super filter of the ocean, they play a big role. Marine plants, they absorb pollutants, they absorb ammonium, nitrate, nitrites, or they also are big producers for food for a lot of marine life. So the marine plants are one of the key drivers of the ecosystem. And then the coral reef as a structure. Now we put that aside. I want you to imagine now in Singapore, Someone say, hey, I'm going to build a business complex here somewhere. I'm going to put it here. The business center is, say, the structure of the coral reef. And that structure and that coral reef will only be successful when the business ecosystem runs inside it. When businesses come and stay and run and thrive inside it, right? So the focus only on growing corals is like building an empty building without knowing what is coming into the ecosystem. Okay? For business people, it's easy. They will do a lot of business analysis, the forecast of who's going to rent their place, and what kind of business will be in. They will start to install Singapore. The Singapore strategy will be a beautiful food court. It will attract everybody there. A nice food court will attract people, and people will start other businesses. Yeah, the strategy of those structure, right, in Singapore. As a coral reef restorer, we need to think ecosystem. We cannot think just one part of the ecosystem. We cannot just continue to plant coral without knowing where are we getting in this business, right? We are getting into the business. In the coral triangle, 99% of the practices is growing corals.
Yeah.
Growing corals is only one of the 7 key drivers of the ecosystem. When an ecosystem collapses, the coral is the last one. When the coral collapses, the entire ecosystem already collapsed. How are you going to bring those back? This is what coral reef rehabilitation is all about. A reef is an ecosystem where marine plants are there, sponges are there, fishes are there. And what role do fishes play in the coral reef? And what kind of fish you are going to attract? The parrotfish that cleans up excess algae is important. Without them, the algae will dominate the coral. And then how are you going to create an ecosystem based on attracting these key drivers to come to play a role? Yeah. Will putting my computer table into the ocean change that? Well, it will not. Will growing coral, a table of coral, 2 table, 10 table, 100 table of coral, right? Will it change? The answer is perhaps, maybe, if something comes back. You are building an empty building. You did not know what business is coming in yet, right? So this is where the misconception was not being looked upon, right? Now people are just tunneling their vision onto, oh, grow coral, grow coral, grow coral. What does the coral play as the role in the ecosystem? Will that ecosystem come back? Has not been addressed, has never been addressed. Why? Because majority of people, they learn the skill of cutting coral and gluing coral, cutting glue, and the coral grow, and the climate change, the heat comes and it bleach and it dies, and it restart all over and over again. Will it change anything at all? So if we look at it, coral restoration starts way long time ago, like few years after the Second World War. Until today, we did not have, on Earth, we did not have a place we can say, hey guys, we want to go to this location here to see how great it is people are growing back the reef. No, there's none. There is pockets, small pockets, 10 table, 20 table, 100 table, 100. A hectare is rare. 1 hectare is rare, right? So these pockets does not even scratch the surface of the problem, let alone solve it. Solve it means solve the ecosystem, not solving the coral. The coral is only a structure that is going to be biologically building a structure, right? This is the thing that is, we must see beyond just planting coral. We must see what has caused the collapse of this ecosystem. People, it's easy to point fingers at, oh, it's climate change. Not necessarily. I will explain to you why. There are two things about this El Nino thing and warming of oceanic waters and all these things. Yes, that is a global focus. When NOAA or when Copernicus Marine Survey, the satellite, sent us a forecast saying that 2026 is going to be a super El Nino. That is a global focus. That is a focus. But scientifically, if you work on it, you need to validate this forecast. Then only it's applicable to you. Okay? So global does not mean a whole world is going to die. Okay, talking to you, you are also a publisher. There is something that must be careful with when publishing news about coral reef. Because when you get Copernicus or you get NOAA forecast, people will quickly write about we are reaching the tipping point of no return, point of this. You know what? I hear this 30 years ago. I hear this 20 years ago. I hear this 15 years ago. I hear this year. I hear it over and over. That is crying wolf. That's crying wolf. This is why the general public will start to ignore this message. When you cry wolf for too long, and they go diving to Raja Ampat, they saw beautiful coral reef. What are you talking about climate change? They go to Tokian Island in Sulawesi. They go and see, wow, beautiful coral reef. Where exactly do the report come from? No, they have there's a misconception because the forecast has not been validated before the news has gone through, and therefore it becomes a crying wolf all the time. Cry wolf, cry wolf, cry wolf, and it gets ignored. This is why the public in Southeast Asia, when you talk about coral reef, they tend to ignore you. You know, when you talk about, reef is going to die. Yes, there are parts that's dying, but there are parts that's thriving. Well, what about that? How do you explain that, right? That is the thing that we need to validate. This is why we need scientists to work on the local microclimate and what is changing, what is developing, what is growing, what is dying, you know, and then map this out and then make a proper report around the world. Then people will then start to look into it. Oh, this is interesting. Then we're getting somewhere. But I have two questions you asked in the email that I need to address.
Okay.
I need to answer your question first. Let me share screen. Yeah. Let me share screen and see here. Share screen. Yeah. Okay. So these are your questions. I need to address your question before I get too far into the thingy. So your question is, how's your work under Ocean Quest Global rehabilitating corals, courses on coral propagation program, coastal communities, sustainability. And then the other question is what success and challenges. And the other one is a request, an overview of courses and why are they important. So let's start with the first question. The first question, how are the work in Ocean Quest? Okay, why are the transition from Ocean Quest to organic reef restoration? Like I mentioned to you earlier, We created organic reef restoration because Ocean Quest focuses on that structure that they built. The coral reef and coral and coral and coral and coral. We have reached the plateau. We literally reached the plateau. We cannot grow any further. We bump into a problem. Why is the ecosystem not improving? With millions of corals we grow, a lot of success on coral. The question is, why does the ecosystem is not improving? Where's the barracudas? Where's the groupers? Where's the key predators? Where's the mid-level predators? Where are the grazers? Where are the everybody?
Yeah.
Where is the business? We have this business complex we built, right? Where are the business who's going to run it?
Right.
This is the plateau that we have reached. Yes, in Ocean Quest, we have established standards and policies for ethical coral rehabilitation practices. We carry on with that. Yes, that is very good practice. We design training programs for coral propagators. We are successful at growing coral. You let me know what kind of coral you want to grow. I will tell you what technique to use, right? It's easy. We have established ourselves as a global presence under Ocean Quest Global. And then we reach the development plateau. We reach that, hey, look, the ecosystem is not coming back. Why? Why was that? Right? So, and then this is what happened. Then we said, we cannot stay at this level forever. We need to step up. Now imagine you are climbing a very, very high mountain. You are now only halfway. You have reached a plateau on halfway. You need fuel. You need energy to go the next level, right? This is what organic reef restoration is all about. I started to study ecosystem, to study seagrasses, to study marine plants, to study microbes, microbiology for corals, to study the oceanic water properties that is moving. Those are the 7 pillars: the water, the microbes, the plants, the coral reef, the invertebrates, and the fishes. Yeah, and then the body, the seawater itself, right? So then we suddenly have a very big perspective. We have a very big perspective to do. This is what broadens our perspective in conservation to ecosystem level. Introduce organic reef rehabilitation. Organic reef rehabilitation compared to coral propagation on the other side, right? We are addressing a bigger problem. Expanding the training program that aligns to ISO 2993 qualities. Now all our training is aligned, leaning on ISO standards. That means industrial standards, the first in any kind of coral education, right? That means we are delivering something. To deliver this, we need to get people who are going to commit. We are going to create career development for this, so that people who take our training, who spend so much time developing themselves under us, will come out as a professional in the end, right?
Yeah.
Then we introduce the training. We establish guideline of reef intervention. Then the second question, success and challenges. Yes, more or less I walk you through already. The transition process takes time. The anticipating the implication of global events, like Professor Marsh was saying, all this war, all this economic thing, prices going up, costs go up too. For us, it's not every day that we are getting funding from somewhere, right? So cost is a thing when we anticipate global events. And then maintaining this momentum. Remember, we are climbed halfway past the mountain ridge, and then we have another halfway to go. We need the momentum to go up. That's the challenges, right? Then accomplish, what has accomplished? We completed all the new training programs. That's a blessing. We have all, I will show you shortly, all the publication of new books and manuals on all this education program that relates to ecosystem rather than the building itself, right?
Yeah.
So, and then new partnership. We also are blessed with a lot of new partnership. Actually, me and Dr. G is also coming up to collaboration. Our two organizations is coming up to a collaboration. We are discussing it on the 11th, I believe. And then better expansion projections. This projection will not only deliver itself in the quality of the environment that we are creating, we are also building up. We are slowly wiping away the dirt that this cry wolf is doing and bringing in the good news to the people, that building back trust of the people. At the moment, trust of the people on conservation is at the bottom, I can say, because we've been crying wolf for so long, right? We did not give them facts and things that they can lean on, because they heard about this 30 years ago. They heard about this 20 years ago. They heard about this 10 years ago. They heard about this today. It became a norm to hear this catastrophic loss of a reef or something, right?
Yeah.
It becomes a norm. That is what we don't want. So the final one is your request on what are overview on courses we are offering. Okay, this is where it changed. A lot of people who took the Ocean Quest classes, they learn how to plant coral. Literally, we are creating a skill set for those people to plant coral ethically, handle ethically, and successful in growing coral. Literally, we are taking people by the hand, give them a pot, give them a seed and some soil and some water to put in. That's it.
Yeah.
That's a skill set. Now it's different. Those who roll out of ORR, or Organic Reef Restoration Center, they roll out as a professional biologist, because that's the first course they will ever took with us. Without this, we don't take them to the coral reef, because they don't understand what we will be talking about. Yeah, this is the standards that we have gone up. We train people, whether they are citizen scientists, whether they are students, whether they are a marine biologist who didn't know anything about coral reef yet. They wanted to be a coral biologist. That is why it's called coral biology, not marine biology. Coral biology means you learn from the cellular level of coral up to the reef building, up to becoming a coral atoll. Yeah, all the way.
Yeah.
It takes 8 months for that course. Twice a week, lectures. Once they finish, they have field training to do. 2 months of internship before they finally roll out as a coral biologist. But then they still have other things. They need to know proper ways of assessing coral reef. They need to learn. Remember that coral biologists didn't say anything about ecology yet. Then they need to learn the ecology part. Then the rehabilitation. Then if they choose to, they can become instructor themselves to teach others. That way I duplicate myself to them so that they can carry on, because I don't live forever, right? so they will take my place and they will become instructors or master instructors, whatever. And to support this, we come up with elaborate publication. I have published the book, Coral Biology. We have the book of Crown of Thorns, starfish, the most misunderstood organism, is coming up also. Then we have the complete guide to coral reef rehabilitation. Then we have several other books that is lining up to come within 2026. So this is what the development in ORR is at the moment. It's a blessing that we have gone this far, you know, for such a short time. Then of course we have internship program, we have consultancy for people who didn't know what to do with their coral reef or things like that, we will provide still like Ocean Quest, we provide free consultancy to those who needed proper information about their coral reef. Okay. Then we invite people to affiliate with us so that we can feed them with what is new. Okay. So that is my presentation for now. For the 3 things that is requested of me, I should stop share now. And yeah.
Dr. Abdullah, are you finding that the people, you had more or less armies of people willing to plant coral? Are you finding that those people have an interest in taking their knowledge to the next level to, like you say, see the bigger picture, see it as the reef ecosystem, and not just as this sort of brute force effort to plant as much as possible and then hope for the best? Do you feel like people are understanding that they need to go to the next level? They need to really educate themselves to, to be really sophisticated in their thinking.
So throughout Ocean Quest, we have recruited more or less more than 26,000 students who learn coral propagation.
Yeah.
Within that 15 years of Ocean Quest, 26,000 of students, most of them wanted to do something, to continue to do something. Probably they are sick of their job in the city. They want to work something in the coral. But that coral propagation skill does not provide a career development path.
Yeah.
So they can progress on. This is how the number of students that I have today mainly comes from that number who have a long time the desire to go on further, but they have no means to get there, right?
Yeah.
So what ORR is providing now is open the door to that 26,000 plus whatever in the world who wants to do. I have a lot of university students as well who are studying marine biologists. They are not specialized in coral and they wanted to learn about coral. That is how, and because of that, initially we are thinking, oh, because we spent 8 months to do all the lectures, we are going to charge them a lot. No, we bring them to a very affordable prices for the courses so that anyone can join. And we even offer them a payment scheme, like they can pay like monthly or whatever. They don't have to come up with a big sum of money to pay for 8 months of training, for example, to make it affordable for people who can't afford it. And for some who we selectively choose, we know that in some school, there are students that come from very, very poor family, and they are doing well in school, especially in biology. We will sponsor them, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Fascinating. Thank you so much, Dr. Abdullah. Really interesting to see how the grassroots approach is so important to you and how you've made that shift in thinking to really educate people at a very deep level.
Yeah.
Dr. Corona, your organization is similar but different, but relatedly, you were also involved in coral rehabilitation. You've also developed some technologies, if I can say it right, net zero Argo Reef and net zero IMTAS. These are technologies using high-tech materials to, do the real work of growing corals. Do you feel similar to Dr. Abdullah? Do you need to take this big overview approach? Is that just the growth part of the coral reef rehabilitation? Is that just one part of the big picture?
Yeah, actually, as Dr. Anuar mentioned, right? So we already have discussions for maybe two years, right? On how we can work together because actually, we have some similarities, right? I see, for example, this kind of organic reef rehabilitation method that he have been created over the years, right? Is quite useful, especially when you want to do the rehabilitation of natural reefs, right?
Yeah,
So, and actually, this is another important thing that he mentioned is about the career pathway, because a lot of people, it's true, a lot of people, they want to do something, but they cannot focus on that because, I mean, if they have like the office job, I don't know, in the UK or Europe or whatever, Australia, right?
yeah,
So and they have like all the credentials to do that kind of job, but actually their passion is about maybe corals, you know. Just 1 month ago, I think I met one girl that she's working for a financial company in the UK, and she's like, but my passion is in coral. So now she's tried to move, you know. So how, with the expertise that she collects over the years in the finance system, how they can she can apply this for corals, and especially I think she's very interested in the coral triangle. So yeah, I think a lot of people around the world are interested and are focusing now in these natural or conservation pathways, right?
yeah,
So nowadays, I think worldwide we are on a transition, right? That we are shifting these economic models, right, from the destructive side to the nature positive economies.
yeah,
Actually, that's the reason why we create the Blue Ocean Credits Program. The Blue Ocean Credits Program is a nature positive economy approach because actually, you know, I have been working with corals, aquatic animals. Uh, s- Maybe I started 30 years ago, you know, working on this. And all the time, I mean, I have a very big passion about corals, of course. I have been working on this for 30 years already, but all the time is the same, right? So we don't have enough funding to do the projects. We don't have like this approach that Anuar is talking about, like the ecosystem, because actually everything is on an ecosystem. Corals is just a small portion of the big ecosystem, the coastal ecosystems. And I will say everything is connected to the mountains, right? So
yeah,
at the end of the day, all this water that is ending, right, in the coral reefs and the mangroves and seagrasses, everything is coming from the mountains. So at the end of the day, whatever we do in the mountains, it will affect the corals. It will
mm,
affect the coastal ecosystem. So our vision actually need to be broader, right? And we need to think and we need to know that whatever we do with nature, at the end of the day, the repercussions are on us. We don't have other planet, just we have one planet, right? And and in some place, for example, in Indonesia, and especially I think in the Coral Triangle, is very very true, right? That the people are living on a small island. Whatever they do on the island, the repercussion is on them, right? So that's the reason why we need to move forward, right, to create new economies. Because at the end of the day, yes, we love corals, we love coastal ecosystem, we love ocean. That's the reason why we are here. But the problem is, like, if we don't have a way to sustain these kind of activities in the long term, a
Mhm.
business side of things, we
Mhm.
cannot do it. We cannot rely on grants all the time, right?
mm,
Yeah.
The only way to do it is making a business of the regeneration of the ocean. More money, more regeneration, more people, create industries, create these kind of pathways, professional pathways that the people can think seriously, you know, to join these kind of movements and then to have a job, you know, have families and everything just running on the regeneration, yeah, the ocean. So that's the reason why, I mean, we are creating this approach with the Blue Ocean Cruise program. I mean, it's not easy, of course. It's something that I say we are on that transition, right, from the industrial revolution to a nature positive economy approaches. And this Blue Ocean Cruise program uh, is one of them. I mean, it's not the only one, of course. There are a lot of people now in the world thinking about how we're going to move forward with this, right? So, uh, okay, I'm gonna talk more about it. I'm not gonna go through the whole thing. I just gonna highlight some of the important points. What is a blue economy? This is all the things that we are talking about is about blue economy. Actually, uh, since we start doing the ocean exploration for 100 years, we are doing already blue economy, right? So that this economy that is related with the ocean. But now the point is to make it sustainable, right? So the new blue economy concept is the vision of sustainable management of the ocean. Why the ocean? It's very clear, right? Actually, our planet is called the Earth planet, but actually it should be the blue planet because 70% of the planet is ocean. So
Yeah.
whatever we do with the ocean will happen to us. Whatever we do with the ocean, right? So, and half of the population worldwide are relying on this ocean. The ocean itself is producing around $24 trillion every year. Yeah, absorb the heat, the 90% of the heat. We are doing the commercial stuff in there. Also, the ocean is a source for oil and gas and provides environmental, social, and well-being for coastal communities. And actually, is the seventh largest economy in the world. So it's not just capturing carbon, it's not just providing food, shelter, everything, tourism, recreationally, things like that, but also is producing a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
So in this, we have two ecosystems. Let's say that we can think about the blue carbon ecosystems. That actually these blue carbon ecosystems are the salt marshes, mangroves, seagrass meadows, seaweed, kelp forests, and they are responsible to capture the 50% of the carbon worldwide, but they are covering just 2% of the ocean surface. It means these kind of ecosystems are very efficient. Yeah. And also, I mean, they provide food and climate security, biodiversity conservation and ecotourism, water filtration, disease control, and coastal protection and acidification buffering. One of them is the mangroves. The mangroves, if we think about mangroves, what is the value? Yeah. So what is the value of this mangrove? 1 hectare is around 33 to 57,000 per year. The annual value of these mangroves is around 400 to 800 billions. Yeah. And
Mm.
120 million people depends on this. The mangroves offer coastal protection, capture carbon against climate change, offer good tourism, water filtration, and fisheries and food production. If we have the mangroves, we can increase in 25% the productivity of coral reefs, for example, right?
Yeah.
So as we mentioned, everything is interconnected. And what is the, for example, the reef service value nowadays, if we calculate the value of the coral reefs, is around $10 trillion with an annual value of 375 billion per year. And then the hectare, 1 hectare, the value is 1.5 million dollars per year, and around 1,000 million people is depending on this. The coral reefs provide coastal protection. Yeah, as also we saw it in the video right before. Also, they are capturing carbon. I mean, there is a debate in the scientific community if the corals are capturing carbon or are releasing carbon, but at the end of the day,
Mm.
they are talking about just corals. But actually, the coral reefs is not just corals, as Amar mentioned already, right? So we
Yeah.
have algae, we have the nudibranchs, we have the tunicates, we have a lot of organisms that actually they are living, or the corals are providing shelter for all these kind of organism. And if we don't have the corals, we don't have this kind of population of the whole ecosystem. So if we think about carbon, it's not just about the corals, it's about the ecosystem that they are creating and all the tiny organism or the associated organism that are living inside the coral reefs, right? So also the coral reefs provide medicines, especially anti-cancer, antivirals. They provide, of course, tourism. When you are thinking about, oh, okay, let's go to one place like to get fun. So we always think about the beach, and we want to go and do at least snorkeling, So it's providing 70 million trips per year. Also, they produce food. And of course, the biodiversity part of thing that they are the habitat for the 25% of the marine species worldwide. The problem, as Anwar mentioned as well, is that we are having these issues. We already lost the 50% of coral reefs. I know that there are some places that, yes, of course, the corals are more resilient. And you can see, for example, I just went to Taiwan 2 weeks ago. Yeah. And in Taiwan, you can see, and the corals are amazing, almost 0% bleaching, and
Yeah.
what's like, oh my God, it's amazing. But in Taiwan, you have a special, I think, environment that the corals are thriving even with the climate change issues. But you have another places, right? For example, here now I'm in Hong Kong, or that the corals are not doing so great, right? Or even,
Yeah.
for example, in the same Brian Path, you can see in one island the corals are totally destroyed, and then in the island just in front of that, they say it's the same environment, are
Mm.
thriving. So how you can explain that? As Anor mentioned, right? For example, in the project that they are having, they already reach the maximum amount of corals that you can put in, and you are not recovering the biodiversity, the original biodiversity. So what is happening? It's not just about that, right? So, but
Yeah.
anyways, worldwide, we already lost the 50% of coral reefs, the 50% tidal marshes, 35% mangroves, and 30% of seagrass meadows. That actually for Dugong also is very important, right? And the
Yeah.
problem is that these kind of ecosystems are threatened. We are facing the destruction of the natural, social, and economic capital, and also we are releasing more CO2 to the atmosphere. So it's a negative look back, right? So
Yeah.
and they will disappear in the next 3 decades. So we are facing this planetary crisis, as I think all the people know already. We are having the climate change, the pollution everywhere. We are having the biodiversity loss, and we already transgress the six of the boundaries, or the planetary boundaries, in order to have a healthy planet. So at the end of the day, I want that you think about this. So what happened 5 million years
To end
ago?
on a positive note.
Yeah, the Chicxulub, that actually, this kind of asteroid reached Mexico, right? That's the reason why it is having this native name in Mayan, Chicxulub, and this is the largest known asteroid. Yeah, it killed 75% of the life on planet, and now we are a almost 9 million of species today. So at the end of the day, it's very clear. Nature doesn't need us, but we need nature. I mean, if we pollute everything, we destroy everything, a couple of millions of years, and nature will renovate itself.
Yeah.
Whatever we do, even if we destroy the planet, the nature will go on. I mean, nowadays, our planet is 500 million years age, and it's in the middle. So it means like we already have other 5 million years in advance, right? In the future for the planet. But we are not going to survive, maybe. And even worse, if we are not taking care of our home. So at the end of the day, yeah, okay, yeah, we are conserving nature, but at the end of the day, it's on us, our species, right? If we don't take care about the planet, so we are, shooting our feet, right? So at the end of the day, it's like that. And actually, the coral triangle is something that is called the Amazon of the ocean. As you mentioned, 75% of all known coral species are here. More than 2,000 species. Is a critical habitat for the dugong, shark, manta rays, sea turtles, and also is the livelihoods. Is a source of livelihoods for hundreds of millions of people. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
high biodiversity hotspot. Is key in the climate regulation. We have a lot of communities that actually they have very strong roots and connection with the ocean. Yeah, and it's a global. It's very important at the global scale, right? So that's the reason why with this organization, the Reef Aquaculture Conservancy, I mean, we create this organization in the Mesoamerican Reef System. But after that, we see, okay, so what is the other high biodiversity spot that we want to work in? And we say, okay, the coral triangle. Why the coral triangle? Because all of this, that's the reason why we are looking to connect, how we are going to connect these two ecoregions that you have in the opposite sides of the planet, right? And that's the reason why we are here. And that's the reason why we want to create this kind of community, global community, because at the end of the day, everything is interconnected. Whatever happened here, it will have repercussions in the Mesoamerican Reef system, and whatever happened there, it will have repercussions in the Coral Triangle, right? So with this kind of conceptualization, we developed the Blue Ocean Credits program. At the beginning, we got some funding from Scotiabank. That actually this is kind of interesting, because a bank put money to develop the project. It's not easy to get this thing, but actually we convinced them with our proposals to get twice this price in 2022, and in 2023 we launched officially the Blue Ocean Credits program, right? Nowadays we got the endorsement from the United Nations and from UNESCO to run this project. And actually this is just a short video. Yeah, I don't know, let me just check on the I don't know, you can hear, but I will try. Let me see. Just let me know you are hearing the video.
Okay.
What if the economy of the future didn't just create value, but help regenerate the planet? At Smart Earth, how a sustainable future is accelerated by AI, we are facing an inevitable transition, moving from extractive models to nature-positive economies. And in that shift, the ocean is not just a resource, it's one of the greatest economic opportunities of our generation. In this session with the Scotiabank, we'll explore how initiatives like the Blue Ocean Credits program are transforming conservation into real financial assets, aligning environmental impact with economic return. We'll talk about blue carbon, regenerative aquaculture, ecotourism, biodiversity, and AI applied to ecosystems, and how these elements are redefining the way capital can work in favor of the planet. At the Smart Earth, the future is not just about mitigating risks. It's about leading bankable, nature-positive opportunities. See you in the session.
Cool.
So the idea with this Blue Ocean Credits program exactly is that. So how we can create a real future for this ocean that at the end of the day is the only one that we have, right? So, but why we don't see like a large investment in these kind of projects is because of that, yeah? Because we don't have the platform yet to create these industries that the Anuar is talking about, for example, right? These career pathways to attract the people, right? To put money, real money in there, and to see a potential business. But at the same time that we have a business, we are doing the ocean regeneration. That at the end of the day, we are going to have multiple positive effects. It's like, for example, imagine if you are doing ocean regeneration, we are talking about different ecosystem, and from different ecosystem, we have different kind of products that could be sustainable products, and then we can sell all these products. So it means, for example, if you compare the destructive pathway, for example, mining that is happening in Ryan Palm today, right? So what is the only outcome of mining? Maybe copper, and the rest is destruction. But if we develop projects with a vision that we are going to do the ocean regeneration, we can have, okay, the tourism, we can have the fisheries, we can have the blue carbon, the biodiversity credits, we can have many products, and at the end of the day, different streams of revenue that the project could be bankable at the end of the day, right? And we are not going to have more destruction. On the opposite, we are going to have more regeneration of the ocean. So more corals, more money. More seagrass, more money. More dugongs, more money. So this is the kind of paradigm that we want to put on the table, right? Of course, I mean, we need the the help, the collaboration with many people, industries, governments to make it happen, right? So that's the reason why, I mean, we are like a moving, we are putting the first step here, but we need to move forward with partners, right? In this case, Anwar already mentioned that he's keen to develop the project, right? Actually, that's the reason also because we are here, because with ADEX, we already talked about it. So how we can also participate, collaborate, and make it happen, right? So this Blue Ocean Credits program is based on three pillars. The first one is the ocean knowledge. If we don't know what we have, so how we can propose something, right? Then is the capacity building, that this is something that also Anwar is doing, and the blue finance. So how we're going to finance these kind of projects. So our roadmap is first the science, then to have the data, work with the communities, because at the end of the day, the communities are 24/7 on those places. So if the project is not appropriated by the communities, the project will fail. So that's the reason why the communities are very important. And at the end of the day, they are the one that can work for the project and have the benefits, the economic benefits at the end of the day. Most of the communities, for example, they cannot send the kids to the school because they don't have enough money, right?
Yep.
But why they don't have money? They are very rich. They are very rich. Just the distribution, sorry, of this economic capital is wrong, right? So then is the finance thing, and the impact at the end of the day is the one that we can try to do, right? Sorry, give me a second. So this strategic focus first is the food security and the blue carbon aquaculture, the regenerative aquaculture. We are not talking about salmon of this kind of destructive aquaculture, because actually aquaculture also could be very destructive, right? So we are talking about like the low trophic aquaculture, the aquaculture that you can do just with water, nutrients, and sunlight. Yeah. And we have a lot of species there. Yeah, the sea cucumber, the seaweed, and so on, that you don't need to destroy nature, or you don't need to kill fish to produce fish. It's insane that you need to kill 4 kilos of fishes to produce 1 kilo of salmon. That's not
Yep.
sustainable. Yeah.
Mm.
So this is the kind of aquaculture that we are focusing on. Then there is the climate security and coastal resilience, the blue circular economy and bioproducts, like for example the seaweed, we can have a lot of bioproducts from there. The net zero and decarbonization strategies, the biodiversity management and regenerative ecotourism, yeah, and the artificial intelligence and emerging technologies. That this is something that we believe as well, to use the new technologies to accelerate the impact and the changes in this kind of ecosystem, right? So this is the kind of model that we are thinking. At the end of the day, nature-based solutions are the future of sustainable businesses. The most efficient economic model is nature. If we can have the corals, reefs, and blue carbon ecosystem healthy ecosystems, right? We can generate a lot of money from ecotourism. We can create jobs as well from the sustainable aquaculture, right? And then we can have the carbon and biodiversity credits, right? So, but starting with the ecotourism or the regenerative ecotourism, that at the end of the day is something that we already have. How many millions of people is going to all these places around the Coral Triangle? We already have the people there. Just we need to, you know, we need to put this kind of vision on the table. We need to work with the communities, and we need to make it happen. So if business prioritize nature, can generate $10 trillion new business opportunities and around 400 millions of new sustainable jobs. At the end of the day, our society is based on the biosphere. Whatever happened with the biosphere, will impact the society and then will impact the economy. The people that is thinking just about the money, 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 come on. So you can have a lot of money, but if you don't have water, you don't have food, you don't have like the basic, at the end of the day, we are animals, we are humans that we depend on nature. Actually, we are, the result of millions of years of evolution. But if we don't have nature, how we can evolve and how we're going to survive? The next generation, we are not going to survive. So at the end of the day, the biosphere is the base of everything and will be the base of everything in the future. Yeah. So this is the reason why we are focusing on that. The blue carbon economies sectors is the private sector, as you know, the government, environment, and research. Of course, this is something that I think described very, very well what Anuar was talking about, like the different kind of ecosystems that we need to think about. As you see here, we have the nature positive economy that we can do the restoration, protection, regeneration, and prosperity for the communities. We will have the coral reefs, the seagrass, the mangroves, salt marshes, coastal dunes, coastal forests, and after that, we can do the real coastal development. Not like the thing that we think about now, that how is the coastal development. The coastal development nowadays is like kill all the seagrass, the mangroves, the salt marshes,
Yeah.
do the land reclamation, and then we have the coastal development, right?
Yeah.
That's not real coastal development. It's not sustainable. I mean, for example, in Cancun, in Mexico, a lot of, and not just in Cancun, right? Also in many places around the world, they are doing this kind of destruction. They are putting on these land reclamation spaces, the hotels and everything. And then after a few years, they complain because they say, oh, we have a lot of coastal erosion in our hotels. Of course, right? You already destroy what nature provide to protect you. I mean, nature is very wise. Why we have the seagrasses? Why we have the mangrove? Why we have the coral reefs? To protect the shoreline. And then some very smart people say, oh, we are going to kill all these things and we're going to put the hotel there. Come on. And now, I mean, they invest billions and billions of dollars to do the land reclamation, and now they need to spend more billion of dollars to do the protection because they already destroyed the natural protection barriers, right? So at the end of the day, it's something that this Blue Ocean Credits program is about how we can conserve, protect this natural ecosystem, but at the same time, we can create economy. In the moment that that happen, yeah, the vision of the people will change. Yeah, and the people that is living in the coastal communities, they will have enough power, economic power, yeah, to develop the projects and to protect these areas because, as I mentioned before, they are the one that are 24/7 on these places. They are like the guardians of these places. So that's the reason why, I mean, like the international organizations that we are working with this kind of stuff is like our role is to facilitate, yeah, these kind of tools and work very closely with them to develop this kind of project and to make it real. But we need the collaboration from many, many people. But anyways, so this is like the thing that we can have one project, different streams of revenue: carbon credits, biodiversity credits, ecotourism, nature experience, regenerative aquaculture, coastal protection, food security, sustainable livelihoods, just with one project. One project, one investment, multiple streams of revenue. If you compare this one with the example that I gave with mining, it's very clear. Which project will give you more returns? Yeah, and more resilience and reduce the risk because you have different streams of revenue with the same project. So,
on those notes, we are running a little bit short of time.
Okay.
But it's a very positive message, and I think it's fascinating to hear your way of seeing things, because it really is a different way of viewing the the picture that we can all see, and some of us see a very negative picture, but this is a very positive picture. I'm very excited to hear the word AI used in something which I can actually get some passion towards. That's a very exciting thing, because AI is such a negative thing. So let's use the technology. Let's use our combined resources and work intelligently and smartly to create a better future. This is a really great message, and we really appreciate it. Dr. Abdullah as well, we really appreciate it. Sorry, Dr. Corona, if you could just not stop sharing the screen there. I can see you both clearly there.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. For everybody out there who's been interested in what Dr. Abdullah and Dr. Corona have been talking about, please go to their websites, Reef Agriculture Conservancy and Dr. Anuar's website, Organic Reef Rehabilitation Center. Check them out, have a look, read more about it. Of course, if you're interested in education, Dr. Abdullah's organization, I think, is a really fantastic place to start. If you're a jaded worker in the city and you need to regenerate and do something different with your life, that is a fantastic option there. I think I'm not wrong in saying that Dr. Abdullah and Dr. Corona will be in Singapore in April. We really hope you will be at the dive show. You can meet them. They will have more fascinating things to say. And we really appreciate the time that you've already devoted to ADEX over the years. More and more people are coming to these shows, more and more interest in putting diving into action, doing other things other than looking at pretty reefs, but really taking those skills and doing something positive for the ocean. So it's really wonderful to see, and leaders like the two of you are so important in inspiring young people to make these changes and do something positive. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I'll see you again in Singapore at some point in 2027. Thanks so much
for the invitation.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Hey, bye.
Now, I've got a couple of messages before we go off air. A few things that we need to just let you know about that maybe you haven't spotted on Asian Geographic's channel so far. At the moment, it's World Oceans Week, and we've got a really great offer on Ocean Tribes Club memberships at the moment. We've got 50% off. That means you can go out there and you can do a lot of different things related to ADEX at a great discount. The events, the trips, the workshops, and all kinds of things rolled into one great package. That's on 50% at the moment. It ends on June 15th, so next Monday it will end. So head over to the website adex.asia and check out the discounts, 50% discount on Ocean Tribes Club memberships. Now, we were talking to Professor Marsh before about dugongs. Actually, we have a dugong photo competition going on at the moment. We're accepting submissions at the moment until December 2026. Till the end of the year, the dugong photo competition is running. And we're really excited to showcase these animals at the show and get your images of these amazing animals and show them to people. The prize is an invitation to ADEX Big Blue Legacy in Singapore. Accommodation provided as a slot for speaking, so you can tell people about your experience shooting these animals, and also an invitation to come to the Blue Legacy Awards, where we will be recognizing important people in the dive and conservation industries, including your contribution as well. So Dugong photo competition, it's running till the end of the year. We're really interested to see your take on these incredible creatures. Up next, a couple of things you should know about ADEX. ADEX, of course, is not just Singapore. It's all around the world, and we have a couple of ADEX shows coming up in September. The first one is ADEX India in Mumbai. The second one is ADEX Japan in Tokyo. That's called ADEJ. If we can see that on the screen, please. We can see it on the screen. There we go. So ADEJ is the ADEX event in Japan and Tokyo. That's also in September, a little bit later in September. Next in October, we have the ADEX Dive and Vibe Blue Wave Edition. That's a fantastic trip on a liveaboard, the beautiful Maldives Legend liveaboard to the Maldives. If you're interested in diving and fantastic add-on things that are happening on that trip, 7-day trip, please check out the website and join this fantastic trip, ADEX Dive and Vibe Blue Wave Edition. Of course, in December, another important photo competition is going on. That's Voice of the Ocean 2027. If you went to ADEX earlier this year, you will have seen me on the stage. We were doing live judging of the amazing contributions to that photo and video competition. Very exciting. We get all these images and videos in front of a live judging panel, and we choose the winners on the night in Singapore. So Voice of the Ocean is huge. If you're a photographer or a filmmaker, please get your entries into Voice of the Ocean. We're going to open submissions in December, and you'll have a few months before the show to enter your beautiful masterpieces into that competition. Of course, as we approach March and April in 2027, we've got some great new exciting things going on. A brand new launch event, the ADEX Liveaboard and Asian Geographic Island Tourism Expo. So that brings together liveaboard and dive travel, Asian island tourism under one roof. We've got 2 editions. One of them is alongside the International Boat Show in Shanghai in China. The other one is alongside ADEX Big Blue Legacy in Singapore. So there's 2 editions of that exciting new event. Of course, in April 2027, we've got ADEX Big Blue Legacy itself. As you now know, it is dedicated to the Dugong. We'll have lots of exciting and interesting talks from Dugong experts at that show, and all the other fantastic things that go on at ADEX shows. A huge number of exhibitors, dive gear, underwater photography gear, great trips, brilliant discounts, and all the great stuff that you've come to know and love from ADEX Big Blue Legacy. A couple of highlights: Aquapoetics. That's the show's underwater performance art and freediving competition. You can get that on the screen now. Aquapoetics, there it is. That's a very exciting event that goes on during ADEX Big Blue Legacy. We've also got Tech Asia. Tech Asia, of course, is the show's technical diving conference. That's in a separate part of the hall, but very important. The global stars in technical diving come to Singapore to provide some high quality talks and training about technical diving alongside the Big Blue Legacy show. And finally, we debuted it this year, and in 2027 we're going to have the Blue Legacy Awards coming back. That's where the show recognizes outstanding individuals and organizations in the dive industry, innovation, marine conservation, arts, and all these different areas where the ADEX Big Blue Blue Legacy Awards awards these outstanding individuals and organizations. So please come. It's a few months away, but it comes around really quickly. ADEX 2027 in April. Make sure you put it on your calendar and join all these amazing like-minded people for this fantastic show in Singapore. I'll be there on the stage presenting Voice of the Ocean, doing live judging, and we'll have lots of great talks from underwater photographers, conservation stars, and much more. So that's ADEX Big Blue Legacy in April 2027. Now, before we go, we have another video to show you to wrap up our Coral Triangle Day here in the ADEX Pixel event. So I'll come back afterwards, but please enjoy this film coming up now.
Thank you.